Hello everybody again, and a warm welcome to this webinar on Beyond Europe, Global Perspectives on Open Data Excellence. Today we will explore how global open data practices are driving innovation, transparency, and enhancing public services outside Europe. So we really wanted to give a global perspective on the matter. We have two experts from the Global Data Barometer and the World Bank, and they will share their perspectives on how open data can be used to address pressing global challenges everywhere. So before we start, the rules of the game as usual. So this webinar is recorded. You will have access to both the recordings and the slides that you see on the screen. They will be sent to you via email after the webinar, but you can also access this webinar and also past webinars on the data.europa Academy website. So feel free to check them out. At the end of this session, we have 10 minutes reserved for Q&A. So please make sure you interact with our speakers. They will be happy to answer the questions you might have. So put them in the chat and we will collect some of them and we'll answer them at the end. And finally, please reserve 3 minutes. If you have 3 minutes to spare, we're going to put a QR code on the last slide of this presentation at the end of the meeting. You can share with us your feedback. It's really takes few minutes. This is very important for us so we can keep improving our offerings and make sure that they are aligned with your needs and interests. So we make sure that we always offer interesting webinars. This is it, not a lot of rules, so I think we can go on with the introduction. Myself, I'm Maddalena Moro. I'm part of the data.europa.eu team, and I'm here with two great speakers today. So we have Silvana Fumega and Anna Florina Pirlea. So Silvana, just to give you a bit of a background, so Silvana has had a long career in the open data and public information access field with a consistent focus especially on gender equity and inclusion, and she now serves as a director at the Global Data Barometer. Instead, Anna Florina Pirlea is a statistician. She's working at the Development Data Group of the World Bank, and instead her work focuses mainly on data management, data quality, and data communication and dissemination. So thank you both for being here. We're very excited to hear about your presentation. So maybe we can just go quickly through the agenda. So the one we just had was the opening and introduction. So we are on time, even a bit early, so that's good. I'm gonna first give the floor to Silvana, who's gonna talk to us about open government data. And then after this 20 minutes presentation, I'm going to give the floor to Anna Florina, who's instead going to present us the data for equity, value, and trust from the World Bank. At the end, as mentioned, we're going to have 10 minutes reserved for questions and also some closing remarks and next steps that we want to share with you. So I think that without further ado, I can give the floor to you, Silvana. And thank you again.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here, part of this event. I'm Silvana Fumega, as it was mentioned, the director of the Global Data Barometer. And basically, the idea today is to think and talk a little bit about how the open data agenda is doing these days outside of Europe, but mostly globally. But I'd like to start a little bit about the changes in the agenda as a background for the creation of the Global Data Barometer. Then I'm going to go with some findings from the first edition and some examples from outside Europe. So basically, first of all, what I'd like to say is that about 15 years, 20 years ago, the open data movement started with a simple yet powerful belief. If we make government data open, people would naturally come, use it, and generate both social and individual value. However, as we know, our experience over the past few years have shown that the reality is much more complex. The initial open and they will come approach has evolved to include a broader and deeper set of considerations. Today, we are discussing things including a range of interconnected issues, such as, for example, privacy and data protection, ensuring that data is handled with care, respect for individual privacy, also human rights protection in technology development and deployment, and data governance as well, as it is essential to establish robust structures to manage data effectively, ensuring quality and inclusion, among other aspects. This complexity added to the initial open data agenda for more than a decade is significant, and our work now intersects with a diverse set of areas and groups previously unconsidered. And this complexity, however, enriched both the impact and the relevance of all our efforts, and we shift toward a more purpose-driven approach. This new direction emphasizes the importance of impactful data reuse through intersectoral collaboration, addressing both the supply and the demand side of the data, while accounting for a broader socioeconomic context in which data operates. Moreover, I'd like to say that artificial intelligence continues to evolve, and the relationship between data and AI governance becomes increasingly critical. Ethical AI governance depends on robust data governance practices and promoting diversity and inclusion in both data production and algorithm design ensures that AI systems remain fair and representative. Overall, sorry that I need to switch the slides. Overall, this evolving landscape calls for new ways of assessing our progress and the effectiveness of our work. And that's where the Global Data Barometer comes in. It was developed in 2020, and it assesses essential data foundations crucial for developing robust, inclusive data ecosystems worldwide, and it draws on primary data from a global expert survey combined with secondary data from trusted sources to generate a range of metrics. Here you have some of the numbers from the initial edition. It was launched in 2022. There were more than 100 countries. We had different numbers with data points, data set, frameworks, and open data initiatives. We are currently working on our second edition, and we are going to have updates early next year. So we are going to share that later when we have those numbers. But let me see if I can, yeah. Despite that the GDB assesses data in a broader sense, I mean, beyond open data because of the complexities that I already mentioned, we need to say that open government data remains a key component of our measurements. And some of the lessons that we learned from the results of the first edition could be summarized, for example, in saying that the Global Data Barometer is telling us that the open data agendas are no longer progressing linearly. That means that the rate of increase has slowed compared to a few years ago. In spite of this, developing and using data for the public good is indeed possible. The norms established by the barometer are theoretically attainable today. And we did an exercise with the maximum scores given on each indicator, and we built an imaginary country that combines the best performance found across all countries assessed by the barometer, those 109. And I have to say that they score around 96 points, providing that virtually all countries should be able to attain high scores with time and effort. Yet the scores reveal that it is still a considerable distance to cover. You can see there that all the scores have quite a distance from 100, that is the maximum score. And I'd like to highlight a few points in terms of the things that we need to do to improve those scores. One of the main things that I want to highlight in terms of the global agenda is that capacity gaps in skill, training, and infrastructure remain significant barriers to extracting value from data. While the digital divide may be narrowing in some areas, gaps persist across governments, private sector, civil society, hindering their ability to create and use data effectively for the public good. Also, and I have to say again, as we witness rapid advances in AI, the importance of robust data capabilities becomes even more critical. AI systems rely heavily on vast amounts of high-quality data to function effectively. Without adequate skills, training infrastructures, organizations and communities are unable to harness the full potential of their data, missing out on opportunities to drive innovation, improve decision-making, and enhance service delivery. Moreover, this lack of capacity not only hinders progress, but also exacerbates the existing inequalities. For instance, in countries or sectors where data capabilities are underdeveloped, the data of these communities is often extracted and used by more advanced entities elsewhere. This extraction can lead to a situation where those with fewer resources and capabilities do not benefit from the value their data could generate, effectively being left behind in the data revolution. I want to add to that in 2023, at the end of 2023, there was a report that it was published, the role of government as a provider of data for artificial intelligence. I had a pleasure of collaborating with this report, and it addresses the role of open data initiatives as one of the data sharing models that we currently have. In that sense, it mentioned that government open data portals remain a critical venue through which to fairly and transparently share government health data for AI development. However, more needs to be done to ensure these platforms are populated, updated, used, and accessible. But I want to jump to a more positive note and thinking about the different stakeholders and what they can add to the agenda. We can say that well-drafted frameworks deliver better data. According to the GDB results, when the rules governing data collection, management, and sharing are explicit and clear, the data is more likely to be available, useful, and sustainable. This in turn helps address numerous issues for the public good. Lastly, also, there is a clear evidence that partnership and collaborations and the advocacy work of international organizations are providing positive results. These efforts are significantly advancing the data agenda on various important topics, demonstrating the power of collective action in driving progress. Nowadays, we not only need to collaborate with the stakeholders in the data ecosystem, from NSO to chief data officer, from SAO to data journalism, but also we need to take into account that we need to collaborate with those in charge of regulating, implementing, and developing AI-related tools. For all these topics, we have at the GDB review our methodology, and we try to incorporate many other features that allow us to measure the state of open data, the data as a broader topic, and the cross-cutting issues that I was mentioning, such as openness, inclusion, and AI. And we are currently gathering the data to help us address these important conversations. But going back a little bit to thinking and reflecting about the trajectory of open government data over the past decade, we can say that open government data has transitioned from a niche concept to a mainstream practice. In the early 2000s, only few pioneers championed open data, but today it's an integral part of government operations. This evolution has been driven by key milestones and also the growing recognition of data as a potential to enhance transparency, accountability, and innovation. And as I mentioned, collaborative effort, particularly partnership between organizations in the public sector, NGOs, academia, and the private sector has been key and instrumental. These alliances foster the sharing of resources and best practices, which are essential for advancing open data initiatives and driving innovation across sectors. So I want to name a few examples from outside Europe that I think could clarify this idea on how collaboration and different partnerships can enhance the work that we all do. For example, the Aclimate Colombia project is a pioneer example of integrating open government data into agriculture, showing its large potential in propelling economic growth, efficiency, and informed policymaking. This initiative, born from the collaboration between the International Center for Tropical Agriculture, the Colombian government, and private stakeholders, has been key in enhancing the reliance of agricultural practices to climate change. By merging association-specific data with open government data sets, Aclimate Colombia provides farmers with predictive analytics on weather patterns and key agricultural advice. This data-driven approach has proven invaluable, particularly in the context of Colombia's bimodal climate pattern. The success of this endeavor, empowering farmers through informed decision-making, has not only contributed to economic development, but also simplified the essence of informed policymaking. By effectively responding to immediate weather fluctuations and preparing for long-term climate shifts, this example has set a precedent highlighting the transformative power of open data in agriculture. Another one, and on a similar note, the collaboration between Data Uruguay and the Uruguayan Ministry of Health with the support of ILDA has created a platform that provides citizens with comprehensive government health data a tu servicio or to your service. This is a web application designed to display data from various health service providers in Uruguay, both from the public sector and private. It enables users to consult, list, and compare indicators for each institution, so democratizing access to crucial health information. So a better informed society can then make more informed decisions about their healthcare providers. Other examples, again, from outside Europe, are municipal money and HeyZoom. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right, I'm not so sure. For example, South Africa Municipal Money is a web-based tool developed by OpenUp for the National Treasury in South Africa that bridge the gap between the public and the complex municipal financial data. It simplifies and makes financial data accessible and understandable to all citizens, thereby fostering greater transparency and accountability in municipal spending. Lastly, in South Korea, the solar industry has been revolutionized by a company named HeyZoom, using data from various government ministries and the Korean Meteorological Administration. This tool provides consumers with cost-benefit analysis of solar panel installations. This initiative exemplifies how open data can also empower consumers, promote industry fairness, and support sustainable energy solutions. These adverse cases from Colombia, Uruguay, South Africa, and South Korea, those focus on different sectors, share common themes of innovation, collaboration, and community empowerment. They illustrate the transformation power of open data in improving quality of life, emphasizing the importance of cross-sector partnerships in maximizing the benefits of open data initiatives, whether it is enhancing agricultural resilience, improving healthcare transparency, promoting fair trade in the energy sector, or ensuring effective use of public funds. These initiatives show the far-reaching impacts of open data around the world. And again, as is shown in all the cases above mentioned, collaboration and exchange opportunities are key to successful implementation of open data initiatives. So I'd like to highlight some tools. There are only just a few of them, but we can talk. I can give more examples of that later in the discussion. For example, organizations like the Open Data Charter and the GovLab offer resources and expert insight from the successful implementation of open data projects. They provide tools, research, and platforms for collaboration and learning. Also, there are other platforms, like, for example, Apolitical, that bridges the gap between government officials and civil society, creating a global network for the sharing of knowledge and practices in open government data. Also, before finishing, I'd like to highlight that the open government data community has a number of peer exchange and learning opportunities at both global and regional levels, each focusing on different aspects. And for example, I'd like to highlight here that Latin America has been one of the most vibrant communities in the open data field. And since 2013, different countries have been hosting an annual gathering for the data community in Latin America that foster collaboration and open data across the region. For the couple of years, also the Hablar con Datos event has been partnered with Open Government Partnership to organize America Abierta, or Open America, that is putting together events to gather and to share experiences between the open government data community and the open data community. Other global events to mention there as well could be Data Festival, organized by the Global Partnership for Sustainable Development Data, and it promotes a culture of data literacy and is essential for data professionals. Another one that is coming in a couple of months, in November in Colombia, the UN World Data Forum. That is a global event that plays a key role in bringing together all partners of the data ecosystem to drive innovation, partnerships, and investments in data and statistics. But I want to finish this presentation with a few final recommendations or key actions for the field based on the results of the first edition that we can later discuss and chat about. For those who want to realize the potential value of data for the public good, we must work together on a few points. For example, stress on leadership and strategies to scale up and embed the skills, infrastructures, and freedoms required for data to be governed and used for the public good. Also, another key aspect that we need to think about, a little bit moving beyond open data, is that it's necessary to develop robust data sharing frameworks, including the subnational level, of course. So the potential data abuse is unlimited and the positive reuse of data is enabled. Also, we need to work on deepen the emphasis on equity and inclusion, recognizing that data governance, capability, availability, and use all need to explicitly consider the needs of marginalized population. And lastly, increase the transparency of government data use by making the public more aware of when governments are collecting, sharing, and using data. This can promote more accountable data practices and support greater collaboration across sectors in using data efficiently. So currently, right now, as I mentioned before, we are working on the second edition of the Global Data Barometer with a focus more on a regional approach, mostly in Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean. We are also working on methodology changes to better address the things that I was mentioning before, because the data agenda is getting more and more complex, and also if we take into account AI developments that we were discussing today. So we are expecting to have the results by early 2025, and I will be more than happy to talk about some of the things that we are working on. And before finishing, because I know I'm getting into my time, I'd like to invite everybody to check the website and the report with many things and insights that I couldn't share today, but I'm happy to chat a little bit about that in the comment sections. Please visit our website and our report if you want to know more, not only about your country or your region, but also what is going on in different areas and different countries around the world. We are approaching different topics from procurement to land. So there are many things there that could be of your interest. So once again, I'm really happy to be part of this conversation, and I'm really open and happy to answer any question that you might have at the end of this meeting. Thank you, Magdalena.
Thank you, Silvana. Really, thank you a lot. It was a very interesting presentation. Very nice to see how international and really cross-sectorial and cross-sectional these open data initiatives are. I think Fiona might be your colleague put the link in the chat of the Global Data Barometer. So people at home, feel free to check it out. We will have some time at the end exactly for questions. So keep putting them in the chat. We're collecting them and we'll answer them at the end. I think
Thank
now
you, Fiona.
Thank you. I think now we can move to the second presentation. So Anna Florina, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Madalena. As Madalena kindly mentioned, my name is Anna Florina Perlia, and I work at the World Bank in Washington, D.C. as part of the data group. It is very good to be here. Today, I'm going to give an overview of the principles guiding the data work at the World Bank, as well as some of the key platforms that we make available as public goods. The World Development Report is an annual report published since 1978 by the World Bank. Each WDR provides in-depth analysis of a specific aspect of development. The 2021 edition focuses on the potential of data to improve development outcomes and calls for a new social contract that enables the use and reuse of data to create economic and social value, ensures equitable access to that value, and fosters trust that the data will not be misused in harmful ways. These principles, of course, connect with Silvana's presentation as well. I'm going to discuss how these principles resonate through some of our open data products. At the World Bank Group, we like to say that we do data from farm to table. Program and policy interventions can help ensure that the poor benefit equitably from data's potential. World Bank open data products are available for free to all. World Bank data is not paywalled where only wealthy or connected individuals can access, but on a level playing field. Since the launch of the Open Data Initiative in 2010, dataworldbank.org has emerged as the top online destination of the World Bank. Next, I'm going to talk about 3 ways to access the World Bank open data. Indicator pages in the data website allow users to visualize indicators, download and access time series, and access related indicators. In DataBank, you can explore one database at a time. The databases in DataBank have a harmonized structure, namely country, series, or indicator, and time, and you can query the data across these dimensions. You can filter each of the dimensions to create a table with the data you are interested in. By default, each country will be shown on a separate page, but this can be changed using layout, so you can get each series indicator on a page with countries as rows and time in columns or any other combination. You can also view charts of the data as well as a map. You can also view the metadata for each country series and country series combination. And once you are done, you can download the selected data in a number of formats, including open formats like CSV and PNG, JPEG, or PDF for charts. You can also access a large amount of World Bank data through the data catalog that I'm going to talk more about in a minute. The data catalog is a one-stop shop for all World Bank development data sets. Here you can find international statistics, macroeconomic indicators, research data sets, geospatial data sets, as well as World Bank operations data, and as well as other kinds of data. It is a fully searchable data catalog with more than 6,400 public data sets. It allows you to seamlessly explore multiple data catalogs, to filter your search results, and easily identify relevant data. A few more details. It provides also comprehensive standards-based metadata that allows you to better understand the indicators, clarity around data access and licensing, and supports public official use as well as confidential data. Just a few more details. It is a cloud-based repository. It allows for simplified data deposit and curation, as well as important metrics on data use and impact. Other features include enhanced access to data, not just the download of files, but access to data through APIs, which is especially good for large data sets, and as well as built-in APIs for CSV and structured Excel files, shape files, and raster data for geographic focused data sets. To achieve the greatest value, data should be easy to use and to understand. So our overall strategy can be summarized around the ideas of discoverability, understanding, and accessibility. So in order for the data to be understandable, we offer detailed indicator metadata to help users understand the development relevance and methodological aspects of each indicator. Through the Open Data site, the data is easily accessible in multiple ways. Users have accessed the data programmatically through APIs as well, which is a very important way for our users to get the data, especially large data sets. In addition to directly using our API, a number of libraries have been developed to provide simple access to various programming languages. These are developed by third parties rather than by the World Bank, but provide convenient methods for using the API. The libraries listed here all have a good community of users. The Microdata catalog contains one of the largest available catalogs of microdata that you can find anywhere. These household and firm surveys are usually compiled at the national or subnational level from a variety of programs. Some of these provide the original data for statistics available separately. I'm going to talk about another example. The bank's poverty and inequality data can be accessed through the PIP platform, the Poverty and Inequality Platform. PIP provides an interactive computational tool that offers users quick access to the World Bank's estimates of poverty, inequality, and shared prosperity. It features a highly visual and interactive website and easy access to documentation. But the website is only the tip of the iceberg. Below the surface, this website is entirely powered by open source code and public APIs. This allows more advanced users to conduct complex analysis using their tool of choice, Stata, R, Python, have full access to the underlying code and computations. So for PIP, everything is done through code. The code is packaged, which ensures maintenance, documentation, and robustness. And it leverages specialized tools. It uses GitHub and its features for project management. And it enables the deployment of a minimal, lightweight, end-to-end working product. It uses a specialized framework to design APIs and Docker to ensure replicability. This is just a little joke. When people usually think of the bank's knowledge products, they're thinking of this type of publications. From large flagships to more focused pieces of work, these are highly valued publications which attract a large audience. By their nature, they use primarily a lot of text and prose to get their message across. However, at the data group, we also like to focus on data visualization and storytelling. And because we want to highlight and explain data through stories and engaging visualizations. And I'm going to talk about one of these product examples, which is the Atlas of Sustainable Development Goals. I'm going to jump into it here. The most recent edition of the Atlas of Sustainable Development Goals, of which you can see a little snippet on the right side, is an interactive web publication that showcases a complex web of indicators which are computed and visualized using modern programmatic tools. Through data visualization produced with D3, we share complex information on countries' progress in a crisp, clear, and easy manner. And here we were inspired by the type of data journalism produced by news outlets like the New York Times or the Financial Times. But going back in time, this is what the World Bank's first atlas looked like. It was obviously a print publication. This is the 1985 edition, a bit more refined. But the first SDG Atlas was also first a print publication because we realized that at the bank there was expertise on data issues across all the 17 SDG goals and an interest in sharing this with the wider world. We decided to build the Atlas to offer the World Bank perspective on the SDGs. And we continue to do so over multiple editions. So first it was the 2017 edition, print edition, then the 2018 also print edition. It was a print publication, but it was also available online. The first open data, open code publication of the World Bank. And then the third iteration of the Atlas in 2020 was fully online and allowed our team to explain the data through a much richer set of visualizations and using interactive storytelling. Each edition of the Atlas has explored different ways to bring attention to the Sustainable Development Goals. The 2023 edition, the most recent one, continued a digital approach from the 2021 and combine it with an open data, open code philosophy. All of the 2023 Atlas visualizations as images are downloadable, as well as the associated data, which is accessible in CSV files. And all the code that went into building the Atlas can be viewed on GitHub. This is sort of a summary of what the Atlas is about. It communicates complex information about sustainable development in an accessible and inclusive manner by showcasing trends for selected targets within each goal and explaining how the SDGs are measured. It brings together data from the World Development Indicators database, as well as information from other sources, including national and international agencies, as well as data produced by academic institutions and other researchers. Each chapter of the online publication focuses on one SDG and uses a combination of interactive storytelling and visualizations. Moving on to a different principle, we value the public eye scrutiny, the fact that we have no problem being held accountable and publish as much as we can in the open is also a way to build trust. The reality is that everybody makes mistakes when working with data. The real question is one of timing. Do you catch an error and address it before decisions based on erroneous data are made? In addition to standard quality assurance processes, being held accountable by a broad audience is also an effective mechanism to ensure that you fail early. Good documentation becomes critical, and sticking to principles of openness and accountability nudges teams to build institutional knowledge. One of the key strategic priorities of the Development Data Group is open data, open code, open knowledge. Since 2010, we have been striving to base our data products on open data. And more recently, we have started to make the code open source and our results reproducible. As one of the world's largest producer of development data and research, we are striving to move away from box analytics and towards a commitment to reproducibility through the use of open source frameworks and tools. In working in such a way, our goal is to build trust in our data products and engage more closely with our community of users. One of the World Bank mandates is to monitor global poverty, and the recently released Poverty and Inequality Platform is a good example of our commitment to open data, transparency, and reproducibility. This is the first World Bank system producing official statistics that runs entirely on open source software. And this approach, we hope, also fosters trust in the data. The World Bank's Open Government Data Working Group developed an open data readiness assessment methodological tool that can be used to conduct an action-oriented assessment of the readiness of a government or individual agency to evaluate, design, and implement an open data initiative. A bit more about this. Open data supports public oversight of governments and helps reduce corruption by enabling greater transparency. For instance, open data makes it easier to monitor government activities, such as tracking public budget expenditures and impacts. It also encourages greater citizen participation in government affairs and supports democratic societies by providing information about voting procedures, location, and ballot issues. Open data gives citizens the raw materials they need to engage their governments and contribute to the improvement of public services. For instance, citizens can use open data to contribute to public planning or provide feedback to government ministries on service quality. Public data and their use are a key source for social innovation and economic growth. Open data provides new opportunities for governments to collaborate with citizens and evaluate public services by giving citizens access to data about those services. Businesses and entrepreneurs are using open data to better understand potential markets and build new data-driven products. Also, efficiency. Open data makes it easier and less costly for government ministries to discover and access their own data or data from other ministries, which reduces acquisition costs, redundancy, and overhead. Open data can also empower citizens with the ability to alert governments to gaps in public data sets and to provide more accurate information. I hope this has been useful, and please feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have, either in this session, or you can also reach us at data@worldbank.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna Florina, for the great presentation. We did collect some questions from the chat, so maybe we can take a few minutes to answer those. So I think I'm going to start with you, Sylvain. I think you may answer some of them in the chat, but maybe it's useful to repeat them so everybody who might have missed them can also know the answer. So the first question is connected to the Global Data Barometer, and it was why COVID-19 was mentioned in the health data set, and why is it not simply a subset, but why was it give it the spotlight, let's say?
Yeah, it was mainly because, sadly, when we started this new edition and the changes in the methodology coming from the Open Data Barometer to the Global Data Barometer, it was in 2020, and we all know what happened back then. And having information and data, knowing how accessible that data on different aspects, from vaccines to cases and so on, it was really important at that time. And it was like a key aspect to understand how health data was available and provided to citizens in different countries. So that was the reason that we put a particular focus on our health data, on data related to COVID-19 at that time. In this edition that we are working, as I mentioned, in different changes, we are not covering that topic anymore. So that was mostly the reason why it was highlighted at that point. I mean, the results were launched in 2022, but the methodology was developed in 2020 and the data gathering was taking place in 2021. So it was really important to have that data and those results. And also we included some questions regarding missing data or delays because of the situation that was happening around the world. So we have some insights about what was going on, not only with that data in particular, but also with other type of data that was not accessible or that were suffering delays because of the situation we were suffering at that time.
Okay, thank you. Very clear. And then maybe going back to the map that you showed on one of the slides, there were some countries, I think Poland was mentioned, but there were other
Yeah,
countries that were gray. And why is that?
Japan. Yeah,
Japan.
no, that doesn't mean anything related to the state of the data in those particular countries. If they were gray, it's because we didn't cover those countries at the first edition. We covered 109 countries, and some of them we couldn't cover from different reasons. So it doesn't mean anything at all regarding the state of the data in those particular countries. Hopefully, moving forward in future editions, we can go and extend our coverage to more countries around the world.
Okay, thank you. And then maybe one to Anna Florina now, we can alternate. So in the World Bank catalog, we were asked if there's any healthcare related data sets available specifically.
Yes. So if you go to the data catalog, you can search by topic. You can also search by country if you're interested in a particular country. Sometimes health data is part of broader country surveys. So if you're interested in a particular country, you can search by country and you can look what type of data sets are available. Some of them may be directly related to health topics, and some of them may be broader surveys that include health data. It is a very large and rich collection. So it does merit a bit of research because there's just so much there. Also, if you write to us at the email address that I specified, we can try to help you more to find a data set that is relevant for your research based on any other input that you can share with us.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I think there were some issues in accessing the link. So if you have it at hand and you want to share it in the chat, maybe that might be
Yes,
useful. But
just a
only
minute.
if you. Perfect.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah. Give me just a minute.
Then maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that adding to that, to the work that the World Bank is doing in terms of the data, we are using some data from the statistical performance indicators that they are developing as secondary data. And we are in conversations with them as well, because in many cases, even though there are completely different approaches to measurement, we face similar challenges. So we are trying to get in conversation different organizations and different measurement exercises to work together. And we use the data from the SPI, from the World Bank as secondary data sources to complement the data we are collecting.
Nice. Perfect. And maybe Anna Florina, you can also share the email in the chat while you're at it, so people can also use that if necessary. And then maybe going back to you, Silvana, in the general findings, you mentioned the partnerships that are powering the use of data. And maybe you can expand a bit on that and the work they do with an example.
Yeah, no, in many cases, as I mentioned in the example from Colombia and Uruguay as well. I mean, they are the closest to home, of course. I mean, in Latin America, but there are many other examples that we can name. In many cases, we see a lot of success when there are different type of stakeholders working together, from NGOs or academia or journalists. I mean, in our report also, we have many examples of journalists or media outlets working with data and covering different aspects. So in many cases, what we've seen, I mean, no matter the topic, in different aspects that we are covering, is that there's a lot of potential in working with different stakeholders, private, public, NGOs, and so on. And also what we are seeing, I mean, in terms of partnership, is the work that many international organizations on different topics, for example, open contracting partnership or open ownership or gift. I mean, they're working on specific topics, and we see an advance in some of those topics related to data. One particular area that is mostly covered in our survey, and we see the advances throughout the years is procurement data. In that sense, the work that Open Contracting Partnership has done in different countries around the world, in partnership with government institutions, has been key in advancing this topic. For example, just to put an example, again, the case of Uruguay with the health data, the service providers' health data, was initially started by an NGO, that is Data Uruguay, with the support of ILDA, that is another regional NGO. But then, I mean, the work was taken by the Ministry of Health and is run now by a public sector organization. So there are many different examples in many different topics, and we see the value in partnership between different type of stakeholders, government, academia, NGOs, and we see the value on that, and we see the results of that as well.
Perfect. Very exhaustive explanation, I would say. And then maybe one more for Ana Florina. You have worked on the Atlas, and is there any favorite parts of the new Atlas edition, and why? And on the same line, if the main challenge, you could point out to any of the challenges in creating it.
These are very good questions. Yes, I encourage everyone, first a bit of promotion, to look at the Atlas. You can just Google SDG Atlas 2023 or just SDG Atlas, and it will take you there. I liked working in a team of experts because it is the result of many expert opinions and long hours of research. I personally worked on the chapters on health, which is SDG 3, Chapter 9 on infrastructure, as well as 14 on oceans and 16. So I am partial to those, but really I encourage you to look at all the chapters. And what we try to do with each edition of the Atlas, and we hope to do more of them, is to explain the Sustainable Development Goals and where the countries are and where the world is, using both clear narratives as well as visualizations that explain the data well and are, fun to explore, fun to interact with. So like I put in this slide earlier, bit of a lame joke, but would like to put the fun in the fundamentals. We're still trying to do that. The challenge, I think, is just because we try to be focused for each chapter, each SDG. We don't try to cover everything in these last two editions. So we're not comprehensive. We don't go broad, but we go deep and explore a few data sets in a way that brings more details and a richer understanding of a topic. And because the SDGs are so rich and so broad in scope, I think selecting for each chapter one or two things to focus on was the challenge, because we want to tell so many things, but there's so many things to tell. So we hope that in following editions to continue exploring different aspects and bring that to the world.
Perfect. Thank you. Very interesting exercise. And maybe one last question for Silvana before we close out. Is there anything specifically that you look more forward to in the upcoming edition of the Global Data Barometer that you want to share with us?
Yes, I mean, we are testing different things. I mean, we did a few updates to the questions, to the topics. Also, we are including some cross-cutting issues, as I mentioned before, that is inclusion and AI and public data infrastructure, that we want to analyze more on the qualitative side. I mean, we have the scores and everything for all the other indicators, but we want also to see some examples coming from different countries in different regions, and also see what are the trends, what are the obstacles. I mean, looking not only at the scores to a given indicator, but also see the different examples coming from different places. So probably in the next presentation, we are going to have many more examples to share in the field. And also trying to see how in the future we can expand our coverage to many more countries, because I think it's crucial to have that coverage in different countries to understand. I mean, not only, I mean, our goal is not to compare one country to the other, because we understand the value of context, and different countries and different regions are included in different contexts, but for each country to understand the progress or the opposites, depending on the case, in terms of different aspects. So I think it's more like a self-assessment tool for different countries. It could be government or could be NGOs to work on different topics. I think the value of our data is more of that than to compare countries that we still know is popular. I mean, to compare countries, but it's not our key goal with these tools. And also to keep collaborating with other measurements tools that are approaching the topic in different ways, because in many cases we have similar obstacles and we can do better by collaborating with each other.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you both really for the very interesting session and for your very interesting presentations. I think now I have two closing remarks points before closing up this session. First of all, we wanted to, of course, welcome you to stay tuned to all the activities of data.europa Academy. So keep checking our website to stay updated. And then we wanted to highlight this opportunity coming up in March 2025, which is the EU Open Data Days. We're looking for experts in open data and AI, and data visualization to share projects that empower society with data. So whether you're from a public organization, from private sector, academia, really anywhere, we welcome speakers who can showcase innovative uses of open data that can create a real impact across the EU and beyond. So if you think that you have a project that you would like to see showcased, and that a project that can demonstrate how open data can improve lives, but also build community and support future business models, we really want to hear from you. So we suggest you check out the website and you let us know. Before we conclude, as I mentioned at the beginning, on the slide you can see the QR code. If you scan that with your phone, you can take just a few minutes to provide us with your feedback. This is really crucial for us. We will make sure to include it in the upcoming webinars. And I think this is it from my side. Again, I would like to thank you, both of you, Silvana and Anna Florina, for your contribution. And I'll see you all hopefully at the next webinar. Thank you, and have a good Friday and a good weekend ahead.
Thank you. Goodbye.